Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get a Life. I'm your host, Marlene Muir. And wow, I just want to circle back a little bit and talk about last week's show about discomfort with my dear friend and colleague, Andrea Milchick. Wow, that got a lot of action. People have been weighing in on that one for the entire week. Mostly about how much it resonated with them and how much it stirred them and kind of what's going on, and can we finish that whole life projection, and can we look forward to the adult thing. And I want to talk about today the evolutionary part of our journey, and it really focuses on where Andrea and I left out on that stage called identity and role confusion. And I made some kind of a joke like, oh, well, that's where we spend the rest of our adult life trying to figure that out. And it's true. It's what we do spend the majority of our time as an adult trying to figure out. So I want to focus a little bit about that today. And another interesting thing I'd like to share with you is that it's really quite synchronistic when either I start talking about a subject, or all of a sudden some client comes with a particular issue. And then all of a sudden it's like symbiosis. I have the next person calling about this, and the next person about calling this, and I'm getting my hair done and I talk about it, and I'm in the grocery store and somebody comes up. And so there's a lot that people get activated, if you will, and I just want to invite you, when that happens, if the things that we explore on this show touch you, resonate with you, make you have questions, really highlight the fact that you'd like some additional support, please reach out to me and let's talk about how I might best assist you on getting your life. So let's dive in today. We're going to talk about evolution. And evolution is really that identity and role confusion, and how we talked about last week how it's about being at a crossroads. You know, when you come to that decision point, and how our life is made one decision after the next, and that this decision predicates the next one and impacts the next one. So let's talk a little bit about that. Who we come to be versus societal expectation, and how are we prepared, and how are we relevant? And we're going to talk about school somewhere down the line, and how our institutions really aren't relevant anymore. And I know that's a pretty loaded statement, but relevant means that the things you can actually use, immediately applicable, and you can take and use immediately. And if you think about it, if you think about your formal education, how much of your formal education actually prepared you to do the things that you do in your job, in your families, in your relationships, in your parenting, in your work, in your health and well-being. So we're going to talk about things you can actually use today, because unfortunately, schools and a lot of other things prepare us for a future that nobody can predict. I mean, whoever predicted that we would essentially have so many things that we grew up with be completely obsolete at this point in just a very short period of time. Evolution and technology are pushing us so fast and so far. Who's to say what will be relevant in 6 months from now, much less 20 years from now? And when we ask young people to make that pivotal decision in high school, you know, just about the time they start to get control of their life, what do you really want to do? And so much of the adult question is, what do I really want to do? How do I really want to be? How do I feel, and how do I express myself? And if I've chosen a certain path, and I've been doing certain things, and I've been living a certain way, but it no longer fits because I have transformed and I am becoming a different person, well, what does that look like? Our job isn't to really prepare for something. Ultimately, our job is to prepare for anything, because isn't that life? The first kind of stage, or that first thing that we're going to explore, is possibility and critical and creative thinking. And Rick, if we can look at that first slide, please, that would be amazing. All right, I love this. This is actually a real picture that I took. And I was in this parking lot, and it made me laugh out loud because I think, how many times in life do you feel this way? There's an arrow here, go here, do this, do that, do this. And everybody loves to tell us what to do, right? You should, you should. And I want to spend a little moment on that one. I like to call that critical voyeuring. And it looks like this. People, well-intended people, love to tell you what you should do, tell you what needs to be done, tell you what you ought to be doing, tell you how to live your life. You know, you should be doing that, you should be doing this. It should look like this. And yet, they're the very people who aren't doing it themselves. It's much easier to just sit back and cast judgment on somebody else. Critical voyeuring. Check yourself. How much do you critical voyeur? And here's the tool. If you really are a well-intentioned, well-meaning, and you'd like to share some advice with someone that you know or love, ask them first, Marlene, would you like to have some feedback about this particular thing? Would you like to know what I thought? And I'll have the choice then to say, I would love to, or no thanks, I'm good. Because if it's about my life or a choice that I'm making, there's a lot of fear and shoulding out there, and stop shoulding on yourself, people, and stop allowing other people to should on you. That's that minute. So to embrace that discomfort that we were talking about, and embrace the confusion and complexity that is life. And when we embrace confusion and complexity, what that allows us to do is engage in a whole bunch of potential opportunities and explorations. And we do it because we are curious, which is why my friend, the question mark, is here. Really, why, what, how, when, following more of that innate natural curiosity that we all have, instead of just plodding along and doing what we've always done because we've always done it, or somebody's telling us what to do. So loosen up. You know what that's about? That's about control. Critical voyeurism is about control. People wanting to control your outcome. People having a stake in how you are. And well-intending loved ones, friends and family, they have a stake in how your life is unfolding, where you choose to live, who you choose to associate with, how much time you're going to spend with them. They're emotionally connected. They have emotional needs for you too. So remember that when people are weighing in. And loosen up. Practice more allowing versus controlling. And check yourself when you're about to be a critical voyeur for somebody else. If you're about to should on somebody, a great thing would be to stop a second, ask the question, what is really my intention about this? And am I uncomfortable with the complexity in this moment, with my friend's pain, with my child's temporary failure, if you will, with my seemingly lost inability to make a decision about what I'd like to do when I'm 18 for the rest of my life, which is completely ridiculous anyway. But when we're faced in those moments with someone else's complexity and confusion, really allowing that person to be uncomfortable, and check your own discomfort. Don't allow your discomfort to interfere with that other person. And then if we could go to that next slide, Rick, that would be great. And the second piece is get outside of your current environment. You know, it's not all a classroom. It's not all a laboratory. It's not all this contained environment. Go the heck outside. George Carlin has a great one about that. You know, for those of you who feel the need for more space, go the heck outside. And it's true. You know, get out of your own space. Leave your enclosed environment, if you will, and expose yourself to other things. We look at life, Anna East Nin has a great quote, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So it's called, I've got my glasses on, mainly because I can't see my doggone page, but we all have our glasses, right? And our glasses are those lenses with which we see the world. And we see the world from our experiences and our viewpoint and our belief. See, now we're going back to the critical voyeur piece. It all ties in. So change your glasses. Take them off. Go to a new environment. Learn something new. Follow your curiosity. Learn to see beyond your own experiences. And next slide, please. I love this visual. Tinker more. Make something just to make it. You know, it's really interesting. The greatest creations of all time have usually been monumental failures for thousands and thousands and thousands of tries, if you will. And instead of looking at that as, oh crap, I failed, I didn't invent the light bulb right the first 10,000 times, it was, well, I just found 10,000 ways that it won't work. So again, am I sure this will work? If you're absolutely sure it will work, then you're just doing more of the same because you already know that it's the status quo. If you say, well, I don't know if it's going to work, or it may or may not, or you know what, no, it might not work, that requires critical thinking and innovation. That requires us to go outside of our comfort zone and really push our level. And you know what? Interesting things happen when we do that. And I also read this incredible article yesterday by this guy who was talking about why geckos are important to the space program. And I went, what? Geckos in space? And he was saying because one person, they were trying, you know, think about all the airplanes that we take for granted to ride in and shuttles and the satellites that fly around and allow us to be embedded in our cellular devices and get our internet wherever we are. All of those things are glued together, okay? And the glue, again, has to sustain heat and pressure and altitude. And so guess what? A gecko can adhere itself on slippery surfaces, in the rain, upside down, going up a wall, hanging upside down, hanging with 1 foot. And this particular scientist went, well, what is it about the gecko's foot that allows it to adhere to something and not fall off? That's why geckos are important to the space program, but they would never been important to the space program had that one guy not gone, you know what, there's an answer here in the gecko, because who would have ever thought geckos in that diagram again, geckos, what are you talking about? So again, let's tinker more, explore outside of the box. And if we could go to that next slide, please. Scratch your itch. What does that mean? I love this one. This means that be curious, follow your interests, follow your instincts. The best thing you can do when you're looking for answers is not seek them, is instead to ask the question and follow your curiosity. If you're trying to figure out what to do for work, for example, why not suspend trying to put yourself in a box and saying, okay, well, I've got these skills and therefore I'd fit with this job. Why not instead ask yourself, what do I really love? What am I really curious about? What do I want to know more about? And here is where Mr. Google comes in extreme handiness, is you get on the internet and you ask a question. You ask the question that you have. You know, what about geckos in space? Or how do geckos hold on upside down? Or how do I travel the world on a limited budget and make money? There are a million, you can't even believe it. You can spend a whole day following this link and this link on that one question alone. So don't limit yourself. Scratch the itch. If you have a particular resonance, if you have a particular interest in something, if you'd like to know more about something, if all of a sudden you develop this incredible fascination with music, follow it. You know, in whatever means. It doesn't mean you have to make your life's work about it, but take a little walk on the wild side. Follow that curiosity. See what you can learn. See what that resonance with music brings up for you. Get out of your head and live your life. And relevance is always being redefined. You know, what is important now? What can I leverage now? And when you follow your questions, and when you are a perpetual learner, you come up with all sorts of different answers that you would never know. I just had a conversation this morning with someone who said, you know, if you would have asked me 20 years ago if I would have ended up here, I would have said, that wasn't even in my glasses. I couldn't see it. And here I am today, and I love my life, and I can't even believe it. It even surprises me. So surprise yourself. Are you curious? Curiosity in everything is the foundation for evolution. Evolution in yourself, transforming your relationship. Conversation I had this morning. We tend to have expectations of the people in our lives. We tend to think that we know them, right? And so then we stop exploring. We stop being curious about them. What if every day of your life and your relationships were about finding out more about what makes that person tick? Wouldn't it be a lot more interesting instead of our eternal expectations and our eternal robotic behavior that we come to know and get bored with because it's predictable and we think we know everything? Curiosity serves very well in our relational life as well. Be curious. Do you find the world and yourself interesting enough to explore? Go exploring. Again, curiosity is an amazing thing. If we could go to that next slide, Rick. Now, this is my favorite. This is about limits. And just beyond that horizon of that so-called impossible is infinite possibility. You can't see beyond where you've been because you haven't been there yet. And yet, we like to control that, right? We like to say, well, if I do this and this and this and this, then that's going to be the outcome. And in the meantime, we're doing this and this and this, and the outcome is unfolding very organically and as it will and as it must. And so look beyond your limitations. Look beyond what you can see, because beyond what you can see is a field of infinite possibility, and you have no idea what you're capable of, what the people in your life are capable of, the students that you're teaching, the children you're trying to raise, the person you're in love with. You have no idea what infinite possibility awaits beyond what we can see and beyond what we can know. So the trick in evolving, and to really sum it all up, the trick in evolving is to be curious, be comfortable with discomfort and ambiguity and complexity, and be willing to ask questions and listen to our bodies and follow our senses and go beyond what we can see. And when we can do that, transformation happens absolutely organically to all of us. And we just never know what's going to happen. And so if anything that you have seen or heard today resonates with you, sticks with you, disturbs you, you'd like to learn more about, you'd like to explore more, please feel free to pick up the phone, send me an email, contact me, and we'll have a conversation about it and see if there's a way that I can support you in your quest to be fully human and your quest to get a life. You can also, if you are interested in seeing past episodes of the show, if you're just new to the show and you would like to see past episodes, you may also find me on YouTube. Look for Marlene Mier, M-I-E-R, on YouTube, and you can see all of the previous shows that we have done here at Cheshire TV, and I invite you to do so. I also invite you, if you live in the Monadnock region, I will be hosting an open house in my office above New England Fabrics on Thursday, July 27th from 5 to 7. There's an article about it in the shopper today, so make sure you save that front page and put it on your refrigerator as a reminder, and come by and say hello. I've got some really neat little gift bags I have for people. Say hello, introduce yourself, see the office, talk to me, and let's have some fun exploring life. And for those of you that are not in the Monadnock region, I always invite you to reach out to me as well. I have clients all over the world, in fact, and it's as easy as a phone call away. And if you are more of a visual person, I also can work Skype or Zoom with people, so don't let that stop you from reaching out. And in summary, let me just say what I always say, my wish for you is that may every sunrise bring more promise, and may every sunset bring you more peace. Until next time.